Is Blink-182's Turpentine their best new song? I don't know, but that's what you've told me. So today I, a producer with over 10 years of experience in punk, in pop, and in pop punk, will analyze it for you. Yeah, in the last video I asked you which one was your favorite from their new record. And it was pretty competitive between Turpentine, Terrified, and Bad News. But in the end, Turpentine edged the others by a bit. And I think I know why. So today we're gonna take a deep dive into this song. I'll share my thoughts on the production and composition, and I'll even recreate some parts from scratch to kind of show you guys some cool techniques and some ways you can recreate these sounds in your computer using only plugins in the box. You know, that can help you and me, poor producers working from home. And that way we can at least achieve a similar vibe to what Blink-182 is doing nowadays. So let's get into it. Oh, and YouTube's gonna kill this video, by the way, because I'm using copyrighted music. But if you like me to keep analyzing songs like this, please make sure to press the like button, the bell, the subscribe button, and share this video. That's the most important thing of them all. That's the only way to help me not get suppressed, so I can keep making these kind of videos. Okay, so let's go into the song. Firstly, there's one thing that really separates this song from the rest of the Blink-182 songs out there in this world. And I think that's the main reason why this song is catching so much attention. And that is the time signature. The time signature in the song is a little bit crazy, at least for a Blink-182 song, you know? And I'm sure some jazz dude on YouTube can give you a better explanation than mine, but I'm gonna explain it to you the way I understand it, from punk rock guy to punk rock guy. So, this song starts in 3/4. Pretty easy. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's it. No secret there. But then in the verse and choruses, it changes to something that in my head is easier to understand as 2 bars of 3/4 followed by 1 bar of 2/4. You know, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And that's the way that it's easiest for me to think about this song when I'm playing it. And it goes like that from the verse to the chorus, but then after that, it becomes 3/4 again. There you go, 3/4. And then to finish it off, in Mark's mid-8, it goes to 4/4. Sharks smell the blood in the water. We're all just lambs to the slaughter. It's only all the time this time. And as you can see here in my session, I made dummy clips for all the 3/4 bits. They're all red. For the 2/4, they're green. And for the 4/4, they're blue. That way you can follow along when you're watching this video, and it might be easier for you. Okay, and that's all really fancy and cool, right? But what's the purpose of all these changes? So in my personal opinion, if you read the lyrics, it looks to me like they're singing about a man that's not happy with his life. So he does a bunch of crazy shit, then feels dirty and feels like he has to cleanse himself somehow. And that becomes such a vicious circle that he starts questioning himself if he's actually not just a broken and wasted man. Can you relate? I can. So that's why I think the time signature is so weird. The 3/3 for me, it sounds a bit tense almost, and urgent, and kind of loopy as well. So that builds a sensation of unease and entrapment. But then when it changes to the 2 bars of 3/4 followed by the 1 bar of 2/4, that sounds almost like it's a drunk rhythm. You know, it has that kind of unexpected boat ride kind of vibe that to me is there to represent how lost that man is, while life keeps throwing him off, you know? I think it can also help to represent being really high on, you know, illegal substances. So there's a really cool play between tense and loose in this song that really helps to enlarge the feeling of hopelessness that they're trying to convey here. And when it falls into 4/4, it's almost like it falls into a more aware and conscious voice, singing about how this is not all your fault, that everything is horrible, but the world is horrible, so it's not really all your fault. But then it goes back into the drunk rhythm and you blaming yourself. It's really cool when songwriters use technical aspects of songwriting to enlarge and enhance the theme of the song. I think it really elevates everything, and it's pretty rare in mainstream music nowadays. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about the structure as well. This structure is also not so common for a Blink-182 song. It has a lot of parts in there, and because the time signature keeps changing, these parts are kind of unexpected every time they come in. I think that helps even a bit more with the lost feeling of the song. It's also really cool how they try to keep every little new section fresh and new. They have quiet bits followed by loud bits. And each time these parts go around, they add something new to them. Like in the verse, for example, the first is just bass, and then it's bass and clean guitar, and then it's bass and a higher pitched clean guitar. You see, that's a very common trick. It keeps the song growing and also keeps the ears of the listeners interested. Of course, this is a Blink-182 song, so it has a flangery build-up to the chorus with a huge Travis fill. Also, I forgot to mention the pre is in 3/4. I forgot about that. But yeah, the pre is in 3/4, not in 3/4 and 2/4. I find it really interesting how they arrange the guitars here in this pre-chorus. I try to recreate it a little bit. It's not perfect, of course. I did it in like 1 hour, but I think it's a good example to show you guys. So in one side, they have this strumming guitar here. And then in the other side, they have just the chord ringing with a tremolo on it to kind of give it the same rhythm. So they're kind of similar, but different. So when you put them together, it sounds pretty cool because it sounds more stereo and more interesting. I think that's really cool. Now, I also try to recreate a little section of the chorus to show you guys some techniques that you can try at home to recreate this kind of sound in your bedroom. So let me show you my version compared to the original. So it's not exactly the same, but the vibe's there, I think. The drums are super pushed in this album. And the easiest way to get there in the box is just to buy a plugin that has super pushed drums. It's really easy, but I don't have one of those. And maybe a lot of you guys don't have one of those either. So I used a free plugin with a couple of tricks. So I used the free version of SSD5 Steven Slate drums, and I'm using Deluxe 2 Free Hugo. That's the kit that I'm using. So then I just recreated Travis's drums in a MIDI track right here. I had to push the highs quite a bit because Travis is pretty heavy on the cymbals actually. I compressed it a little bit. Even more highs were pushed using Fresh Air, which is also free, I think. And then just a little bit of any distortion that you have, just to make it a bit more crunchy. But then the trick to make these drums sound big like Travis's drums is to duplicate the kick and the snare MIDI notes into separate tracks. And then to the kick, you just add a different kick sample. I went to Splice and I just got a really strong kick sample there. This is the one that I'm using right here if you're interested. And this is how it sounds. And then I just pushed the low end and the high end so much, and I ducked all of this bit here because I just wanted to sound big and punchy. So the big is the low end, the punchy is the high end. And then I compressed it with a slow attack to give it even more transient. The snare is a similar deal, but with the snare I just literally just added a really good sample in there and just, that was it. Didn't do any EQ, anything to it. And that's how it sounds with and without the samples. You see, by having extra kicks and snares, you can really push them up and raise their volume so they are as crazy loud as they are in the Blink record. For the guitars, I kept it quite simple. As you can see, I'm using Archetype Tim Henson here. I think it's a good simple amp to use, and I'm not distorting it too much. I'm not putting any reverb on it, really. You have to keep the guitars simple if you want them to be punchy, and especially when you have loads of guitars in your track and guitars on top of guitars. Don't go too crazy on the effects and the distortion, because you might just make a muddy mess. Of course, there's one guitar pan to the left, one to the right, and there's this extra little riff here underneath. I don't know if that riff is exactly right, but it sounds pretty close to me. Adding a riff under your power chords like this is a good trick if you're like me and you're not very good at playing full chords. Just play power chords and add more stuff on top of it, and that way you're gonna get all the cool notes in there and make your harmonic content much richer. The bass was actually pretty hard for me to get close to their sound, because their sound is really full of low end and full of punchiness and top end as well. And I just recorded this bass directly plug in into my interface, and then I did a bunch of stuff to it. As you can see, I split it in two different signal chains for it, one for the low end and one for the high end. So this one is the high end and this one is the low end. In the high end, I just put some distortion here, a very famous distortion used on a lot of bass, a simulation of the Sans amp pedal. It adds a bit of distortion and aggressiveness to the top end of your bass. You hear all that rattling in there, all that string noise. That's important for a punk bass. And in the low end, I just cut all of the high end out of there, and I just boosted the low end even more, and I just compressed it so it would be constantly present across the whole track. You know, I needed my low end to be really consistent. Then I compressed both channels together even a bit more with an 1176, which is a pretty good compressors for bass. I boosted even more low end, which is crazy because this bass has so much low end. It's crazy. I had to boost it so many times. And added even a bit more of distortion just to kind of mush it all together and to make it one aggressive bass blob. I got close. I didn't get there, but maybe someday I will. You guys try it out and let me know your tricks as well. There's just one more cool little section that I want to discuss with you guys that has a pretty cool delay, is this section here. Pretty cool delay, right? On the voice. So I started thinking, how would I recreate that with the plugins that I have? Because it sounds like Tom's voice is getting lower in pitch and farther away and more degraded. So how can I do that? Well, the first thing is, if you listen to it, his voice is not actually going down in pitch. Check it out. It's the formant that is actually going down. The note stays the same. So how do you do this? Well, you automate the formant, right? You can do that in Little Altar Boy by Sound Toys. This is my version here. It has the same vibe. Come on, give it to me. So yeah, as I said, I automated the formant knob here. The formant is a weird knob because it's not like the pitch, although it gives the sensation that you're messing around with pitch. What it's actually doing is simulating the throat size, I think. So it sounds like the voice is coming out of a bigger and bigger throat, so it sounds deeper and deeper. I also automated the drive here. You can see it going up. That way my voice degrades like Tom's voice degraded. And then I just doubled this track and added a reverb before the Little Altar Boy. I didn't change anything in Little Altar Boy. I just added a reverb before. Because if you hear the original, you can see distortion on the sides and it sounds like reverb distorted. So I added this reverb and I automated the dry and wet knob to make my voice go farther and farther away and more degraded. Pretty cool, right? This is everything together again. There's a synth and a guitar kind of octave thing that goes in different directions with the harmonies and the notes. One goes down, the other one goes up, and that's really cool because it also gives you that sensation of being pulled apart a little bit. You know, it adds to that sensation that the song's trying to convey. Also, the mid-8 drop, of course, it's always a good tradition to drop heavily on the middle 8.
Sharks smell the blood in the water.
And then after the middle 8, you drop even more.
This time, quit your job and have a...
Why would you do that? Why so many people do this? Well, it's because that makes the chorus that's coming, the last chorus, sound larger than all of the other choruses.
Wash yourself in turpentine. Want it or not like the other.
Nothing followed by everything. It's the biggest contrast that you can have. So the chorus will sound huge every time if you do this trick. There's also a little rise here, a very poppy trick actually. If you listen in the background, there's a little reverse piano or something rising up to the chorus.
Wash yourself in turpentine. Want it.
I think it's a reverse piano. It goes, it sounds like a reverse piano. Blink really likes piano, so I bet it's a reverse piano. But I guess that's it for today. I don't want to play this song too much more because I don't know how many copyright strikes I'm gonna get by doing this video. But I hope you enjoyed it, really. I could sit here and talk about this song and all of the other songs all day, but I don't want to make a super long video as well. Because I personally really like to correlate technical aspects of the production with the meaning of the lyrics. That way when I'm writing my own songs, I can try and do the same and give my songs a deeper meaning. Did I forget to mention anything that you like in the song? Let's keep the discussion going in the comments below. And if you like what I do, please press all the buttons around me out there in this world that help me right now. Thank you so much for watching, and I see you all next time. Bye.